So welcome back to the Let's Get Moving podcast. I'm your host, Ivan Markovic, and today we are diving into a topic that every athlete, coach, and fitness enthusiast, I believe, should care about. It's about how to create a truly resilient athlete here. So joining me today is Kenny Callinan, a movement expert from California, who also is a competitive strongman athlete, coach with over a decade of experience, with a master's degree in exercise science, specializing in biomechanics and motor control. Kenny has built his coaching philosophy around one simple but a truly powerful idea that I like the most. It's to become unbreakable athlete. So his approach goes far beyond building muscle or increasing the strength. So I think it's about development, that mental toughness, creating that unshakable form and the foundation throughout the core, strengthening muscles and a quality of the movement, and just preparing the body to perform under pressure while standing the test of the time. So today we are going to explore what it really means to become that resilient athlete, from the mind to the muscle and the body, and how coaches and athletes can train smarter, stronger, and for a long haul. So, Kenny, welcome to the Let's Get Moving podcast, man. It's a great pleasure to have you here on board.
Appreciate it very much, Ivan. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to get to speak to not only you, but any of your listeners as well. Spread any knowledge that I can and spread the good word.
Thank you, man. The pleasure is all mine. So let's start with the origin story of yours. So what was the first, what first attracted you to the strength training, when we were younger?
Yeah. So, as a kid, I grew up watching professional wrestling, WWE, and just seeing these massive guys wrestling on the floor. I looked up and I was like, man, I want to be just like these guys. And then pair that up with, there was a cartoon, called Dragon Ball Z. It's an anime.
Yeah,
Again,
I know.
these massive guys just, training hard and able to shoot energy beams out of their hands. And as a kid, I was like, you know what? If I train hard enough, maybe I can shoot energy beams out of my hands too. I'm still working on that. But, then as I got just a little bit older, I noticed a sport, on TV called World's Strongest Man. And I was just
Okay.
absolutely astounded by the level of power and strength and just, again, mental toughness that these gentlemen had. I loved it so much that I would fake, my parents are going to hate hearing this, but, I would fake sick so I could stay home from school so I could watch it,
Oh.
in the early afternoons on TV. I loved it. I just couldn't get enough of it. But, I soon learned that I wasn't going to grow up to be 6'5" and, 350 pounds. So I figured maybe that's not going to be, the sport for me. But, long story short, I ended up running into a coach who's now my current coach who told me that no, there's weight classes, in strongman. And that was just a game changer for me. And, ever since then, about 2 years ago, I've been training, 5 days a week, doing strongman style training and haven't looked back.
Well, at what point actually that fitness becomes more than just a hobby to you? When you really decide, okay, I'm gonna push this through, I'm going to go a little bit further with this.
Yeah. Fitness, when I first started working out, but before high school, it never really was a hobby. To be honest, when I first started, I'm going like the backwards direction. It was for a purpose. Through high school sports. And my dad actually, gave me the idea of building a strong, foundation for myself before I start actually touching weight. So I was doing push-ups, lunges, dips, sit-ups, 200, every other day, to build out this
Well,
foundation. So then as soon as I started, touching free weight, I just, I just blew up because my body had this foundation to pull from. Um,
okay.
and then as I got through college, I was a track and field athlete. I was a thrower. And again, lifting was a purpose. It was all just, for sport performance. And then after I graduated, college, I got into powerlifting. And again, lifting was just purely for performance. It wasn't until relatively recently, that I've mentally grown up and began to, um, treat fitness not only as a sport, but also as a hobby. So the hobby aspect came, far after, the start of my fitness journey. So it's always been for a purpose.
All right. But can you explain us and elaborate a little bit more? How did actually the powerlifting shape your understanding of human performance here? So what did it change
Yeah.
about your opinion when it comes to strength training?
Yeah. Yeah. So, powerlifting is, your big three movements, your squat, your bench, and your deadlift.
Yeah,
From the outside looking in, you're just thinking, oh, these guys are just squatting. These guys are just bench pressing and they're just deadlifting. But when you actually get into the sport and you do it competitively, you start to really appreciate the fine details of those movements.
yeah,
Um, and that's actually where, uh, I had a life changing, perspective change on human movement as a whole. It's what actually inspired me to get my, master's degree in biomechanics. I started learning how the body is designed to move, how our bodies are built to squat, how they're built to bench press, how they're built to deadlift. Um, when you take these little details into account, they all really start to add up over time. You start seeing how these guys get so strong. And you go back and as a personal trainer myself, when I'm teaching my clients, these movements, they may have been, shown how to squat. They may have been shown how to bench press, deadlift, do all these movements. But when you actually teach them these fine details, they also gain a much greater appreciation for how difficult they actually are. So it puts things into perspective for them. So yeah, the powerlifting has been, a very necessary foundational, mindset for myself to appreciate just how, intricate and, detail oriented some of these movements that we take for granted actually are.
yeah, yeah. And especially when it comes to compound lifting movements that you have
Mhm.
in your competition sphere, they are a core foundation of building that strength. But what kind of lessons from that competition or just from the training per se are still influence you as a coach today? Can you give us a couple of secrets here?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, not really a secret. I mean, this should be common knowledge. But again, it's the thing that gets taken for granted is, every rep that you do, every set that you do, every exercise that you do, every workout that you do, every recovery day
Yes.
that you do, they all matter. Every single one of them matters. We go through our day-to-day lives, taking a lot of things for granted, but, when you're training with a purpose, you start realizing how important, all these small details start to matter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of us don't really realize this until we get injured. When you get injured, now your things really start to matter. When you can't, bang your knee up and you can't squat, and you have to do all the little things to rehab that knee back to good health. And once you're able to, recover and you learn why you got hurt in the first place, you start taking that movement much more, start appreciating that movement much more and your ability to do so much more. And you start doing the little things around that, what happened to that injury, and implement that as a, proactive, from a proactive stance, and making sure all those little details start adding up and start mattering.
For sure. Yeah. You told previously at the beginning that you had a mentor. So, can you tell us a little bit more? What was the specific thing about that mentor that changed the way you think about the strength training, that influenced you a little bit more? Okay, I'm going to go a little bit deeper on this and just try to learn as much as I can.
Yeah. So, my current coach, Steve Brown from SoCal Strongman, um, when he took
All
me
right.
in, I was an athlete that was, I grew up with, anger management problems. I had a lot of pent up rage and aggression that, at first was really helpful for me, because I was able to channel in a lot of that energy into something actually positive with my strength training, with my lifting and my
Yeah.
competitions. But that can only get you so far. And he taught me that. He taught me to, instead of, going from a place of negativity, going from a place of blind rage, to start focusing in more and, um, do things for the, remember why you're doing it in the first place. You're not doing this to handle, your aggression. You're doing it to, uh, challenge yourself and become better than where you were before. Whatever your end goal is, train for that. And he's really, changed my mindset from living from a place of, no, not totally negative, but negative tinges of myself. And instead channel
Yeah.
that to something a little more positive and productive for not only myself, but for, through my lessons that I'm able to pass on not only to my teammates, but also my clients as well.
For sure. And across all of the years behind you and the experience that you gain, how would you personally define the strength training? What is the strength to you?
Yeah, yeah. So strength is, an interesting word because it can have multiple meanings. A lot of times when we
Yeah,
think about strength, we think about it in the physical sense of the word. And that, sure, that's absolutely positive. But what is something that again, the strongman has really taught me this, fully, is there's a mental strength that is your foundation. If you have a weak mind, if you're full of self doubt, if you, like I was before, before my coach pulled me out of it, if you're lifting from a place of insecurity, you're only going to get so far. So strength, for myself and what I teach my clients, comes from the inside out. And that's where the unbreakable, theme of my training really comes from too, is having an unbreakable mindset. Yeah, you're going to
Yeah.
fail. Things are going to be really hard. It's not going to be ideal circumstances all the time. But the only thing you can control is your outlook on it, your mindset. If you can control your mindset, that's what matters the most. So then you can start affecting things more into your liking. The better the mindset that you have.
Yes, yes, I agree with you on this. But the most of the people do also believe that the people misunderstand what strength training actually is. You just mentioned that everything becomes and everything starts with the mindset. Do you believe that most of the people actually that I also occur, they believe that strength training, everything is connected to lifting heavy weights? But what is your opinion about this? Do you believe that the most of the people misunderstand what strength training actually is?
Yeah, yeah. Again, that kind of ties back to my previous response, right? Where
Mhm.
people look at strength as a um, um, one-dimensional theme. And,
Yeah,
and there's another aspect of strength too is, resilience. Like I said, coming from failure. I've had tons, hundreds, thousands of times where I've failed. Um, but how we interpret that failure, is another aspect of strength, right? Failing is more so just a lesson. Why did you fail? And also, why did you
yeah,
succeed? If you can't learn these lessons, then your outcomes are going to be hit or miss. You're not going to be able to be consistent with your positive outcomes. If you don't understand why you did well, that's only as good as winning in the first place. So, uh, it, strength is more so than just the physical aspect of the word, and the more people can understand that strength is a more all-encompassing umbrella term that has a lot of different aspects to it, the better
yeah.
appreciation and the more strength, pun intended, they're gonna grow from.
Would you define it as maybe a synergy of getting stronger and becoming more capable? Or do you see this as a two different things? How would you define
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, 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 totally. Yeah, the mental strength, physical strength, emotional strength, they all tie together. Your strength from discipline as well to do all the little things, making sure you're recovering well, make sure you're eating properly. If you're training your body as a performance, let's say a Formula One race car, right? A very high performance
Yeah.
machine. You have to treat it like such as well. You can't just go out partying. You can't go out drinking. You can't go out abusing yourself and then also expect to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So that also ties into fitness being a lifestyle, not just a choice. It's more so an all-encompassing aspect of your life.
Definitely, definitely. But can you tell me how has your philosophy evolved over the years since you just getting into the stage and actually become one of the most competitive in your sport? So, what was your
Yeah,
mindset at the beginning, and what was like that you can, what can you tell about yourself until the current day?
yeah, yeah. So, in my education, in college, our kinesiology or exercise science program was very practically based and uh, taught things from more of a performance aspect. So
Yeah.
what we start learning is that you should treat your body, even if you're not a competitive athlete in, let's say, soccer or tennis or golf or rugby, any of these other sports, you're still competing in the sport of life. And that was my first major aspect of my training philosophy is everyone is an athlete in the sport of life. Life requires you to meet certain performance demands, right? You still need to sit up and stand down, or stand up and sit down. You still need to pick things up off the floor.
For
If you have
sure.
children, you need to be able to keep up with them and keep them active and keep yourself active as well. And you start appreciating this more and more and more when you start interacting with older individuals in your, in my training business. performance is even higher of a demand because as you start aging, your muscles start to atrophy, your strength starts to go down, your balance starts to decay. And so if you don't train your athletes as if they're training for the sport of life. There's a lot of things that can be, missed and set them up for, compromises later on in life as well. So that was like the first major, um, aspect of my training philosophy. Another aspect too is our body is an incredible, like I said, an incredible performance machine. And everything is there for a reason. Our muscles, our tendons, our ligaments, our nervous system, our vessels, everything serves a purpose. The fascia that's around our muscles also serves an incredible purpose. This is often where muscle memory comes in. You start training a chain of events in your body to start sequencing your muscles in the right movement patterns.
Yeah.
And if you don't train these things to do what they're supposed to do, like if all you're doing, and no trash talk on bodybuilding training is absolutely important. It's good. Nothing wrong with it. The issue that I see with it a lot of times though is it's one dimensional. It just seeks to get your muscles bigger and stronger, but doesn't teach the nervous system, doesn't teach your body how to do those things. Once again, training
Exactly.
yourself as if you're an athlete in the sport of life. If you don't allow your nervous system to learn how to do certain movement patterns as if it's a second nature type of command, again, you're setting yourself up for a compromise. And then this is a more relatively recent aspect. The third one is we have three main types of goals that we can have. We have process, behavior, and outcome goals. And myself included, for the longest time, I was so focused on the outcome goals that I ignored the processes and the behaviors that underline them. And so when you're kind of like with your mentality and coming from a place of positivity and doing the little things that matter, having a set process for how you start doing things, having positive, and humble behaviors behind them as well. Learning from your mistakes, learning from your wins, and using them as a means to continue growing yourself. That in turn is going to allow you to have the outcomes that you're looking for. If you don't have the first two, the process and behavior goals, your outcome goals are going to be very inconsistent.
Yes, and I love how the way how you put it. You mentioned practically all of the spheres here that can actually leads me to my next question. Um, I would like to ask you, what do you think is the biggest mistake people are doing when they're chasing strength? We can either talk about the people who are maybe beginners, or who are the people who are coming in a certain age group, belonging to the certain age group, or maybe the people who are returning to the strength training after a long break. So how would you dissectify here maybe the changes that, like you mentioned, that in the body occurs, and what are the most common misconceptions here that people are making in the process of getting there where they want?
Yeah. So, I do want to reiterate what I just said before about the process, behavior, and outcome goals. That's a massive one.
Yeah.
That's a
Mhm.
foundational aspect, or mistake that people make when they're looking for
Yeah.
strength gains. Oftentimes they're just focused on the numbers and cool. Yeah, numbers are great. Numbers are cool. But if you don't have the underlying, process and behaviors that, can lead to consistent results, those numbers aren't going to come. Or they will
Yeah.
come, but you're gonna plateau and you're gonna reach a certain point and you get frustrated and then you go back down again. So
Yeah.
that's number one. A second one I would have to say is, another thing that I mentioned before, which is our body is a complex system of connected pieces.
Yes.
And going into a little bit more detail about that, the strength
Yeah.
of your
Please.
core. And when I say core, I don't just mean your abs. When we think about our core, we have to think of another intricate system of muscles that are tying together, not only tying or stabilizing your spine, but also helping your upper body and your lower body sequence together and generate power and strength. Um,
Yeah.
and I would see Instagram videos of these guys with they're not very big guys, right? You expect to see like a massive guy, you expect them to be really strong, but some of these smaller guys who aren't very blessed with size or muscle build are still incredibly strong. And you come to find out that they're paying attention to all the little stabilizing muscles in their body. They're transferring those forces through their body out to the after the implement that they're lifting. So getting your abs, your lower back, your upper back, and your hips as strong and as stable as possible so that these forces that you create, they're not leaking out power from your weak points. All your weak points are chinked up and strong. You're gonna be able to be much more. You'll be able to output much more. If your brain's taking 100 pounds of force through your body, you're able to put out 100 pounds of force through your system, and not instead of just 80% or 80 pounds of that force.
Yeah. And specifically the quality of the moment. I think the quality of the moment must be also the priority here. Do you
Hmm.
think that the mobility and flexibility are often neglected in the strength culture or the powerlifting culture here? And what can you do maybe here to address the problem a little bit more deeper, to avoid this and maybe beat the clock or the time against us when it comes to a competition or just a training when we want to perform or having the better outcome here?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, the stretching and mobility stuff isn't as attractive as lifting the big weights are, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially for us guys, we're totally guilty of that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things too where you don't really know what you're missing until you try it out.
Yeah.
And I think of it this way: if you're trying to get down deep into a squat and you're wearing a pair of jeans that is limiting your ability to get down to the hole, um, not only are you, one, if you're competing in powerlifting, you're not able to get deep into your squat. That kind of sucks because that's a no lift for
Yeah.
you. Um,
Yeah.
but then second, you're starting to compromise other areas. Like if you don't have mobility in your hips, to get deep into your squat, then your lower back is gonna
Yeah.
have to suffer the consequences. And you can only get with that for so long. You get hurt and then you start realizing, oh, I probably should have focused on my mobility a little better. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's like the main thing is it's not as attractive as the big weights, but you start doing it, you start feeling um the benefit of doing the mobility stuff, the stretching, taking care of yourself outside of just lifting the big weights in the weight room. That itself synergizes with the lifting the big weights. You start to feel lighter, you start to feel better recovered. You don't have to spend as much time in your warm-ups wasting energy and time in your warm-ups. You can get into your bigger lifts a little bit better, a little bit quicker, and a little bit more safe as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in the powerlifting, the weights are very huge, very serious and dangerous numbers. But how do you determine whether someone that you train has earned the rights to lift heavier? Okay, when you say, okay, now we are gonna draw the line, we are gonna go a little bit above the limit here. So when is like for you like the green light here that you realize you have the trust in your client, in your athlete to push it a little bit further, or you can just elaborate on your own opinion on your own case scenario.
Yeah, yeah. So this is going to be a not so educated and it's kind of like a bro science way of going about
Uh-huh.
this. But I've been in the game
Yeah.
long enough. I do it off
Yeah.
of vibes, honestly. I look at the movement quality. I look at the speed of the bar. I look at how mentally confident my client is as well. Um,
Okay.
I've seen enough times where I've made the right call to go heavier, and I've also where I made the wrong call to go heavier. And through that experience, you start to see when someone is ready. If I'm getting someone, you know, ready for a big lift, we're going to hit a maximum strength. There'll be periods of time where I have them, scale up in that weight towards that maximum weight threshold. And then I'll also scale them back down and have them hold certain positions so that they own. Like if it's like squat, for example, we're going to go for a certain weight, let's say, a 200 pound back squat. And
Yeah.
I have them going up to 185 for sets of two or three, and they're owning that. There'll be a short period of time where I'll scale them back down to let's say 150 pounds, and I'll have them hold that bottom position of the squat, the most difficult part of that squat, for a 3 second hold for a set of
All
five,
right.
just to
Well,
make sure that they have stability in that range of motion. Then they earn that right to move up. Um, so it goes down not only just to vibes, but also just using my coaching instinct and seeing, okay, is this person actually capable of moving weight? When they're unlocking the bar, let's say on a squat, and their torso is shaking, their shoulders are shaking, their legs are shaking. Okay,
yeah.
maybe it's a little bit more time they need under a that weight before they start building confidence mentally, and also their nervous system, their psychology, allowing their body to
Yeah.
actually handle that weight.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more of the finer detail stuff. So
Yeah. Well, um, I don't know if you're familiar with the Strength Sensei coach or with Charles Porklin and his principles. He's one of the guy who's actually brought the most Olympic medalist, gold medalist so far that we know. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but he put a lot of emphasis on the posterior chain exercises and
And,
strengthening them.
and
And can you also elaborate a little bit more? How important is this, for example, to put such a training methods in your macro cycle? And what role does the posture per se plays in a performance role, by your opinion, when you want to classify in like your own training routines and training schedules? So can you also a little bit can you go a little bit deeper here on the whole thing? So I will let you explain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the posterior chain is,
Yeah.
probably the big power center, the big driver, the foundation of your
Yeah.
movements.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a little bit weird here and I'm going to talk about bench press for a second.
Yeah, please.
So bench press, we're thinking chest, shoulders, triceps. Those all need to be all big and strong, in order to move
Yeah.
big weight. Absolutely. However, those muscles need a pull from somewhere, right? So when I'm
Yeah.
trying to get someone to get a bigger, stronger bench press, I spend a lot of time on their back, getting a strong mid back, upper back,
Yeah.
traps, rotator cuff, mid traps, rhomboids, making sure all those muscles are actually pulling those shoulders back. So as they draw back into that bench press, they're stable throughout that range of motion.
Yeah.
And also, just from a stability, standpoint, the posterior chain of your body, is what holds you together in your squat. It's what holds you together in your, deadlifts. It's what holds you together in your overhead press. And unfortunately, because it's on the backside of your body, a lot of times you can't see it in the mirror, so you're not going to train it. That's again a fault that a lot
Yeah.
of us guys has is we look in the mirror and we're just like biceps, yep, chest, yep, shoulders, yep, and we don't spend as much time on the back half of the body, especially the back half of our legs, our hamstrings, our glutes, calves.
Yeah.
If you're trying to maximally perform in a movement, you got to have your big engine, your glutes, ready to go. Speaking of that as well, now when we have our, let's say bench press, for example, once again, yes, it's an upper body exercise, but it's also a full body lift. Your glutes, your lower
Yeah.
half needs to be stable so that your upper half can be mobile with the weight. If you're shaky in your lower half while you're trying to bench press, that's a lot of wasted energy trying to stabilize and mobilize with your upper body. So, the posterior
Definitely.
chain, your posture, all that absolutely matters. And if you're ignoring that, you're digging yourself into a hole. That you're soon going to learn that lesson, right? When you get injured, you're gonna start realizing, oh man, I probably should have focused on my posture a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Um, when it comes to mobility and flexibility, we'll agree that the range of motion will be a little bit more presented to us in order maybe to hit the larger number on that scale. But are there any assessment movement that you do and that you find also very valuable when it comes to um, the powerlifting here? For example, all of those compound lifts are bilateral movement patterns. Are you also incorporating here some unilateral exercises, or are there any progressions here that you just, pushing your athlete away from bilateral movement patterns here or lifting for a
mm,
while? So how do you
hmm
assess this? How do you manage this in order like maybe to hit the bigger progression, bigger numbers, bigger volumes here?
Yeah. So there's a few assessment tools that are professionally used, such as like the functional movement screening, and
Yeah,
those are all well and good, but I find much more use out of having people actually do the movements themselves. So like if I
yeah,
want to improve your squat, I'm going to have you squat. I want to take a look and see I want to see if your hips are shifting, if you can't get that depth, if you're collapsing in your upper back in the middle of the squat.
yeah,
That way I can start plugging up certain holes. Now going into the unilateral movements, absolutely. So our bodies are built unilaterally, right? We walk, we do other things that are single leg, single limb movements typically.
yeah,
And because of that, we're going to have a dominant side and a non-dominant side. And also by force of, our daily lives, we are tend to be, have tension shifted towards one side of our body. So, let's say you are, you're a female and you're, nursing a baby, and you're right-handed, but you're constantly holding that baby on your left side. You're going to start building up a lot of tension and
mm,
strength on that left side. So over time, you're going to start shifting things over towards that left side. And you won't really recognize that until you start doing, when you do a bilateral movement, let's say, once again, a bench press, that strong side is going to start taking over and compensating for that weaker side. So by having you do a unilateral movement, I can start saying, okay, that left side is very strong. That right side is starting to be really weak. And that right side, we need to start getting stronger to make
Yeah.
things a little bit more even in that bilateral movement. If we only do bilateral movements, you're not going to be able to shore up any of those weaknesses, and they're going to go unaddressed for a long time. You're going to start compromising your strength. You're not going to start be able to realize the potential that you have. And then also, when it comes to doing unilateral stuff, let's say, let's just bench press once again, make it easy. Um, if I have you do a single arm dumbbell press with weight only on one side of your body, your core
Yeah.
system, your hips and your abs have to learn how to stabilize yourself away from that movement, away from that weight. Which again is
Yeah.
going to tie into building up a better strength for the bilateral movement. That's one of my favorite warm-ups to do for a heavy bench press is I lie down on a foam roller vertically on my spine. And I
Okay.
have a dumbbell on one side. So that dumbbell is trying to roll me off that roller towards that one side. So my same side hip and my opposite ab have to work to stabilize me. It's one of my key warm up exercises. Hopefully does that answer your question, or should I go a little more detail?
Yes, yes, yes. You're very good at this, and I just wanted very curious about it. How does your training or macro cycle looks like just before when you have to hit the competition? How do you transfer
Mhm.
that strength gains into the real world performance and everything that has to happen, you know, um, in the championship?
Yeah, yeah. So, if we're looking at like an athlete's, we'll just call it season,
Yeah.
as like a macro cycle for a year, you're
Hmm.
going to have your, off season, you're going to have your preseason, you'll have your season, and then, your postseason. Starting off from the very beginning with the off season, you're going to be
Yeah.
doing a lot of general strength training type stuff. To get your body moving, get yourself active, practice a lot of different skills, just so you have a more well-rounded, foundation to build from. Then you start getting
Yeah.
to preseason. You start moving things a little bit more directly related to whatever sport you're performing. And you start building up a strength foundation. So the weights start getting a little bit heavier. The reps start going down. The volume decreases a little bit. And then when you're in season, depending on what sport you're actually doing, that may be the time to hyper focus on, let's say, powerlifting. Hyper
Yeah.
focus on those three movements. Or if, let's say you're in Europe, they call it football, but in America, soccer,
Yeah.
that might be the time that you focus less so much on, the strength training and focus a little bit more on speed and power instead. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
mostly related to your sport. You don't need to be super
Yeah.
strong in football or soccer. You need to be quick. You need to be able to change direction very well. You need to be very, have some finesse, in your movement
Yeah.
patterns.
Yeah.
So then that'd be the season. And then postseason would be, another kind of like deloading, let your body recover from the season that you just underwent. So, it depends on what sport you're doing. But for, let's say for strongman, there's a list of skills that you have to be very skilled at. So our off season would just be general stuff, practicing, an overhead movement, practicing a deadlifting movement, practice a heavy pull, like a car pull, truck pull, practice stones, all these different lists of skills. When we are signing up for a competition, we know what 5 events we're going to have to do. So as we get closer to that competition, series, we start practicing those specific skills a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, and you mentioned across the board, of course, in different sport areas, we have to be well-rounded, and also a sport-specific demand has to be fulfilled. But what do you think? What qualities are just the most important for athletic longevity as a whole picture here? So the most of the people, even for me, it was very difficult also to dissect. But what do you think? What is your opinion? Just to say, okay, this is the cues. Now we have even more examples and athletes who are over the 40 and they are still in their prime and they're performing very well. So the scale moves a little bit, the needle moves here a little bit. But what do you think are the key metrics here for the athletic longevity that must take
Um,
place?
yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying before about the the little things that you do day to day, the details that you're paying attention to, your mindset, your habits. As you start
Hmm.
getting older, your margin of error for ignoring those things gets smaller and smaller. So,
Yeah.
what a wise person would do is in their, earlier days, like their teens, their twenties, their thirties, is start building up those positive habits. So that as you get older,
Yeah.
it's just another thing for you versus, getting into your forties, your fifties, and your sixties, realizing, oh, wait, I probably should have focused on those habits early. Um, and having to uh, reteach yourself those habits when it's much more difficult versus starting off early and making sure those habits are in place from the get go.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love the way how you put it. But do you um, believe that we are over complicating the sport performance training today? I mean, we have a lot of data collections here. Also have
Mhm.
a lot of technology here. How many technology is incorporated in your daily routine, or are you using any? Can you also tell us a little bit more, or what is the secret of you? So when you have the scientific data collection here on one side and your just pure experience and how should I say intuition about how to manage your training cycle, your training periodization, or bringing the key decisions here.
Yeah. So, it, there's a lot of information that's out there.
Yeah,
And there's different techniques, different training techniques, different training apparatus. A lot of things that you can tie into your performance training that could be helpful. I think
yeah,
for a lot of people, it's a catch 22, as we say, where, there's so much information that there's a lot of good information. There's also a lot of bad information or useless information for that time and space for yourself.
for sure,
Um,
for sure.
so it, are we overcomplicating things? It's possible. Um,
Yeah,
Technology is great, information is great, but it's actually how you actually utilize that technology. When you're in the field long enough, you see something on, let's say, YouTube or Instagram, that's a very cliche or gimmicky exercise. You have the intuition to understand, okay, that is just for the content. That's just for to get the likes and the views. There's really
yeah,
no outside benefit to that. What's ironic though is the stuff that's been around for a long time, the very basic training principles. Guess what? They work. They work very well.
yes, yes,
And in our training, we are so like for in my coach, we do all the basic stuff. We just do all the basic stuff extremely well. I
yeah,
using is actually a part of technology that gets underappreciated is tracking your progress. I cannot stress this enough. Record your workouts, write your weights, write your reps, write how challenging something was for yourself. Keep record of those things. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel of those things. Like the very very basic stuff, like recording your progress, matters a lot because you're gonna have days where you're lifting and you're just not feeling it. And I go through this routinely, right? When I'm doing my own
yeah,
workouts and I come in, I'm tired. I'm like, "Oh, man, I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to hit some of these numbers today." And I look at my training app and I see that, let's say on a close grip, chest press, that I was able to do 12 reps with 185 pounds. Okay. Well, 190 pounds for 12 reps is the goal today. And
yeah,
just gotta do it. You just gotta rip them out.
yes.
It's very easy to overcomplicate the basic. The basic stuff is no, it's been around for a long time. It works for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. And especially nowadays where especially the younger generation, they are looking for the instant gratification. So they want to receive the
Mm,
results overnight. So I also
mhm,
tell them that the simple journaling is the key principle of just getting there. So, but doing the boring stuff is also the key principles of just gaining that knowledge and intuition and knowing your body each day more, a little bit more, and then making that progress eventually is going to occur. But if you could only
mhm.
train three physical qualities for life, Kenny, what would it be here?
Yeah. So, going back to our, we're all athletes in the sport of life.
Yeah.
I have to say power. Power is the
Uh-huh.
product of strength and speed. So being able to not only produce force, but produce force with a certain velocity. And again, this
Yeah.
ties into the older individuals. if you're in your 70s and your balance is starting
Yeah.
to fade on you a little bit, and you take a misstep and you have to catch yourself with your foot out in front of you, that's where power really
Yeah.
matters. That's the difference between catching yourself and breaking your hip on the floor. And if you're home by yourself and you
Yeah.
break your hip on the floor,
Yeah.
guess what? You're not in a very good spot. So power is number one, easy. Being able to express
Hmm.
force as quickly, as efficiently as possible. Um,
Yeah.
a second one would be mobility. So making sure that you're able to do certain movements. Mobility isn't just necessarily about range of motion. Mobility we can also look at as having a range of movement skills that you can do. Um, being able to not only move forward and backward, but also be able to move side to side. Being able to not only press and reach things out in front of you, but also press and reach things overhead. Now we can look at
Yeah.
mobility not only as range of motion, but also as a movement skills. And then finally would be core strength. Once again, being able to transfer forces throughout your body and not leak the energy throughout your weak spots. So mobility or power, mobility, and core strength would be the top three.
I love it. I love it. And let's make a step back here and also get back to the programming a little bit.
Well,
I want to discuss about this. How do you structure a beginner's first year of training? When you say, okay, now I have a power lifter, he wants to become, for example, me. I want to come to train with you and to become a power lifter. How would you, structure my training program and training regimen here? So what would you do?
mm, yeah, yeah. So if someone's first starting out, everything is going to be centered around having a broad set of movement skill. If you want to be a big powerlifter, cool. We're going to put that on the back shelf for a second. We're going to get you good at a lot of different things first. So make sure you're actually able to move. Make sure you're actually able to, do things on free weight, body weight, certain machines, be able to balance, be able to do all these different things that are the underlying foundations of your strength.
Yeah.
So the first,
Yeah.
let's say, 2 or 3 months are going to be focused around just gaining a broad set of skills that you're able to, build from. um, Once we get past that point, let's call it month 4 to 6. Then we start, narrowing down, those skills. So, yeah, if you want to, let's say, get good at your back squat, yeah, we're going to back squat a little bit, but we're also in our front squat. We're also going to lunge and step up. We're going to do, still a variety, but start narrowing in that focus a little bit more.
Yeah.
So typically, let's say someone gets past their first few months of exercise, just generally speaking, nothing really too dialed in. After they get to past that point, let's call it months 4 to 6. I'll start organizing the workouts where they have a 4 workouts a week. Workouts 1 and 3 will be lower body pushing and upper body pulling exercises. So squatting exercises and row lat pull down type exercises in the same workout. Workouts
Yeah.
2 and 4 are going to be the opposites. It's going to be lower body pulling exercises and upper body pushing exercises. Again, this gives us a variety of exercises that we do throughout the week, but I'm not blowing you out in any one area so that you're able to recover. And going to the next training session, not being completely just obliterated. Also,
Yeah.
what that's doing is, the conditioning from that as well. Like if you're doing lower body and upper body exercises in the same workout, there's a lot of blood that has to pull from the lower body back to upper body, back down to the lower body, back down, up to the upper body. So you're gaining a
Yeah.
certain level of conditioning as well. Um, so that's where no, we start again narrowing in our focus, and then we'll just call it months 7 to 12. Then we'll get into the actual fine details of your squat, your deadlift, your bench press, making sure that we're now adding more weight to the bar, lowering the reps down, having you hold certain positions to make sure you own
Yeah.
those ranges of motion. Um, that ensure that you're not only capable of moving the weight, but that you own that weight at that range of motion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. And I want to tell also to people to make some notes on this to be remembered. How actually the professionalism is taking that each step by step you are dissecting very good. But is there any differences, and at what point um, do you differ you're programming between the athletes, the professional athletes, and the general population clients. Like you said, okay, you're starting with your basics, so you get them prepared. You do the foundational work. At what point actually you're dissecting here or deviating here with the training program? When you decide, okay, with this person, I can go a little bit more further, and we can do some serious stuff here.
Yeah, that's gonna everyone's gonna be is gonna be different. So,
Hmm.
when I have my general population clients, oftentimes they're gonna be like, "Oh, I just want gain muscle and lose fat." Cool, great.
Hmm.
You can do that absolutely. But I
Yeah.
also ask them, what are some of your strength goals? Especially with my female clients, I ask them like, are there certain movements that you were able to do when you're younger, or that you see other people do that you want to do? Oftentimes, it's be able to do a push up, it's be able to do a pull up. Um, so then that becomes their sport. Um, they want to be a push-up specialist. They want to be a pull-up specialist, we'll just call it.
Yeah.
Or if I have a male client who says, yeah, I've always wanted to be able to bench press 2 plates, but I've never been able to. Great. Now they're a bench press
Yeah.
specialist. We'll make sure you get them. Uh, uh, general population, even though I had general population client, like I said, with my training philosophy, I train them as if they're an athlete for their strength goal, that they have. They may not come up with one immediately, which is fine. What's funny is that oftentimes though, in our general movement type stuff that we do, I have them start doing certain exercises, and like, man, I thought I was strong in this exercise, but I didn't realize I can only do one pull up. When I was a kid, I could do 10. I want to be
Yeah.
able to do 10 pull ups again. This might be like 4 or 5 months into actually working out. They start realizing, man, I thought I was stronger than I actually am. And they start coming up
Yeah.
with these strength goals later on in their program. Um, so, my general population clients versus my athlete clients, they all are athlete clients, just kind of changes, depending on what their needs are.
Yeah. But is there any kind of training principles that never changes to you regardless of the goal? Is there any
hmm
this must be done, and there is no negotiation about this stuff?
yeah. So,
Yeah.
the core strength is one. But another one too is, it kind of has to do with mindset. It's
Yeah.
consistency and frequency over time. You
Hmm.
mentioned about, not getting the instant gratification, right? Having a delayed sense of gratification. Um, you know,
Yeah.
if you want to lose, 20 pounds, that's not going to happen in a month. That's probably not going to happen in 2 months. It may not even happen in 3 months. But it's the day to day things that you do that start adding up to that time. So, understanding that you're not going to get your results immediately. And it goes back once again to it being a lifestyle, that you're creating, not just a hobby that you have. Yes, fitness can be a
Yeah.
hobby. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. But, um, it can't just be a hobby. It has to be a mental and physical choice that you make in your day to day actions. So the
Yeah.
frequency and consistency over time is probably the non-negotiable, the utmost non-negotiable. If I'm working with you and I can tell that you're not into it, I'll fire you. Like, you're not my client anymore, because you're not only wasting your time, you're not only wasting my time, but you taking
Yeah.
up a certain time slot of mine is taking that time slot away from someone else who is going to take their training
Yes.
serious.
Yeah. I also have the same principles, and I'm sticking to that to this day. But how do you diversify here when it comes to volume and the recovery ratios? What is the difference here in terms of volume training between the professional or just the general public client? Can you elaborate a little bit more in terms of number or maybe percentile when it comes to like the amount that you have to lift in a macro cycle, for example, in terms of one totally newest or amateur client and some professional here. So what are like maybe the safe range, to move just maybe to tell our clients, to teach them a little bit more to have some kind of base knowledge, to start with.
Can you ask that a little bit differently? I'm not sure I understand quite.
Okay. I'm just telling how do you know? So what is the difference? How do you know when the athlete needs more volume? And what is the difference
Oh,
between a professional athlete's volume versus just a general public client volume? How you diversify here the volume gap
mm,
here when in terms of training sessions, and just the volume here from the intensity and also the recovery management here because we know
yeah,
that the
yeah.
gains are actually taking place, when the recovery is on.
hmm
So
Yeah, okay.
just in that terms.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
at the end of the day, whether it's an athlete or general population, you're still working with a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
And us humans will have various things going on in your life, whether it's you're raising kids and you're not able to sleep nearly as much.
Yeah.
You have a very stressful job that makes you travel a lot, so you're missing training sessions because of travel. Um, there's all sorts of different things that go on. So there's an understanding there with
Mhm.
performance and recovery where as a trainer, as a coach, I have to balance between being empathetic and also stern. If I'm working with an athlete, that margin of error is just a little bit smaller, or level of empathy is a little bit smaller because
Yeah.
there is a competition coming up that doesn't care that you're tired.
Yeah.
You're still going to have to do it. So it's going to come from a combination of what I mentioned before, where if an athlete is ready to move up in weight, where I said it's based off of the vibes that I'm getting from the individual. Um, if they come in and they're just having an off day, cool. Like we'll push as much as we can, but have an understanding that today may not be the day. Um, but if we're training in that week and the second session of the week is also subpar performance, the third training session is
Yeah.
also subpar performance. That's me understanding then this person legitimately needs a break.
Yeah.
So instead of pushing the weight, we'll push intensity a different way. We'll hold certain positions. We'll focus more on accessory movements instead of the big movements.
Mhm.
Um, that way we're still being productive with our workout time, while also allowing them time to recover and prepare for, let's say, the next week of training. And what I find this oftentimes too, if I have a strength athlete that is looking to have a big week of testing where they're testing their one rep max strength,
Yeah.
um, the week before that test, we'll do a deload. And oftentimes that's when people will come in and they're just like, oh man, I feel like crap. Well, that's good that we're deloading because that's expected, right? Your body finally has a chance to recover. This is our
Yeah.
pre-programmed time to recover. So it's very common for people to feel kind of crappy, of that recovery week. Cause now your body, you're taking your foot off the gas pedal finally, and your body's realizing, oh, there's a lot of change that needs to go on. And it allows your body to make that change over the course of the week so that you're peaked once you recover after that week.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to me, Kenny? So I'm approaching to my fourth decade right now. So what does sustainable training look like for a person after the age of 40? I'm totally into longevity, but unfortunately, I do not have a lot of time. I can add like 60 to 70 hours work week on my load, so on and my weekly regimen. So how would you address my problem here just to keep me on my goal here, like to stay strong, to stay healthy, with the bone density very good, possibly
Mm.
jacked, just stay healthy, overall health, to be on my.
Yeah. So what I mentioned before is the consistency and frequency over time. You don't have to, max out every single time that you work out.
Hmm.
Having a little bit of self-awareness, internal awareness that, if you're pulling a 60, 70 hour work week, maybe that's not the week to go, max strength on your squat and your deadlift.
Yeah.
But another principle too is, our bodies, if you don't use it, you lose it. So
Yeah.
strength, speed, power, your neuromuscular control, your mobility, your coordination, even just giving your muscles, the stimulus they need to grow and not atrophy, especially as you get, past your forties. Those sorts of things start to matter. Having self-awareness. So like, let's say again, you're pulling a 70-hour work week and you're just blasted and you still want to work out. Great.
Yeah.
Maybe take a step back. And this is where recording your workouts really does start to matter. Cause if you've noticed if you're recording your workouts, right, you have all your workouts logged and you are training the same things all the time,
Yeah.
like let's say, getting stronger and building muscle, but you don't do any balance or coordination or mobility work, and you just pulled a 70-hour work week, maybe that's a good time to focus on your mobility. Maybe that's a good time to
Yeah.
focus on your balance. Maybe that's a good time to
Def-
focus on your neuromuscular control and holding your core strength, holding certain positions.
mhm.
You can push intensity, but intensity doesn't just mean scaling up the weight all the time. It means making the
Mhm.
exercise challenging enough to give your body a reason to adapt.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a good tip. But what is your position here and your opinion in general about the strength training or maybe like strength and conditioning? Do you believe, and what is just your opinion, how the strength training should evolve as we age into the future? Do you think that we are on the right path, or maybe, just maybe still losing ourselves in this dogma of too many analysis that makes us, paralyzed of making maybe the right decision? Or as you said, too many data is not even that good, so we have to filter a lot through that
Mhm.
data.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, I don't think the strength training as you age really should change too much. I recently, I have a 83-year-old client, kind of
Yeah,
a frailer looking, gentleman, who just, did a trap bar. We tested his one rep max strength on his trap bar deadlift. And this guy just pulled 275. I don't do anything special with them. I do the same basic training principles, that, I would have a younger, athlete, younger adult do. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. The basic stuff works for a reason. It shouldn't necessarily change, as you get older. Certain priorities may change. So working on your mobility and your power as you get older. Yeah, that starts to matter. Your baseline strength starts to matter a little bit more. As it relates to your bone density, your strength matters.
yeah,
Fighting off muscle decay as you get older, right? By doing the hypertrophy work, that starts to matter. But, um, it doesn't necessarily need to change. I train my older, clientele the same as I would, not the same, but similar to how I would my younger clientele. It's just the magnitude of how I'm training them starts to change a little bit. And that just comes with, awareness as myself as a coach and my experience and handling all sorts of different types of people. So
yeah.
it doesn't necessarily need to change.
Yeah, yeah. And in a terms of habits, you mentioned them there, all of the routines are very important. But would you also give us a couple of habits that create that long-term success in fitness? Which of them would you, uh, put them apart and say, you should follow them as a guidance here to reach your
Yeah.
fullest
Yeah.
potential?
So, I, said this before. I'll say it again. The consistency and frequency over time, number one,
Yeah.
that's going to create that's looking at, longer term delayed gratification, making sure you're taking each step, every rep, every set, every
Hmm.
exercise.
Yeah.
They all matter. Uh, Another one too that I had to learn when I first started strongman. Again, I thought I was God's greatest gift to weightlifting. I thought I was, the next best thing. And then I started strongman and I sucked. I sucked at a lot of different things. There was a lot of very frustrating moments that I had. And I had to understand that, yeah, you know what? Sometimes you are going to suck. Like you're not going to
Yeah.
be very good at a lot of different things. And that's okay. That's part of the fitness journey, is learning how to overcome those obstacles. Personally, the Atlas stones. I grew up watching World's Strongest Man as a kid. And I thought the Atlas stones were the coolest freaking thing on earth. Like I thought, I was like, man, these are primitive, masculine men doing this thing. I got my hands on the Atlas stone and I felt so like weak and pathetic. And I made it like a personal goal of mine to overcome that and become really good at Atlas stones. And now the stones are one of my favorite events to actually train. They suck. They hurt. It's very draining. You feel like crap the next day, but that personal struggle of overcoming that and being able to do, the heavy stones, with authority, not just like barely getting it, but actually owning that event, um, has, given me a further reason to, keep training the stuff that I suck at. And I'm still relatively new in strongman and there's a lot of things that I haven't gotten a chance to try yet. But now knowing that I sucked at this one event and I started getting really good at it, the next time I suck at an event, I understand that I can get good at it. I just need to accept that I suck now and just take those little steps over time.
Yeah.
And then another one, this kind of goes back to the longevity aspect too, but, in our tool belt, we have, hammers and we have chisel. Now, hammers,
Okay.
we're pounding, 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 making sure that we're driving the intensity up. Making sure the numbers, trend upwards the way that we want them to go. But we also have chisels that are fine detail, making sure that we're sculpting things in the right direction.
Yeah.
So there's times to have, big moments where you're really hammering in, the big numbers, but then also to help those big numbers, we have to chisel away at the smaller stuff as well. Make sure we're rounding all of our bases, making sure that, we're not ignoring all the little deep stabilizing muscles, or the assister muscle, like for example, your bench press. Yeah, you want a big chest. Yeah, you want a big shoulders. But if you don't do any of the tricep work as well, that lockout is going to be next to impossible for you as you start getting to your maximum weight.
Yeah.
So hammering certain areas and chiseling others is also another, long-term success, set of habits or mindsets, if you will, that's going to be, beneficial.
Yeah, yeah. And at the beginning of our conversation, you also said that the recovery has a very crucial role in making a huge progress here. And by your
Mm.
opinion, is there any biohacking modalities that you incorporate here as a secret, maybe like to gain those advantages a little bit faster than any other? So, what do you think that also the elite performers understand more about the recovery that maybe average trainees don't? So, is there something that you are also applying here very often that gave you also gain your huge success in your sphere?
Yeah, yeah. Again, treating your body like a high performance machine. So making
Yeah.
sure that when you have recovery days, you're actually recovering. You're eating well, you're hydrated. You have a mobility program that you're incorporating into your training regimen.
Yeah.
Those things matter a lot. There's other like modalities you can use. You can do the ice bath or cold plunge or the sauna,
Yeah.
foam rolling. I see a chiropractor and a physical therapist, twice a week, um,
Well,
to make sure that my body's lined up the way it's supposed to. Anything that I'm trying to rehab, I'm taking care of. Um, but there's tons of, and it's also like a overcomplicating aspect of training too, where there's so many things you can do that people get lost in the sauce, and they're just like, there's so many options, I'm going to choose none of them.
yeah.
Pick one thing, see if it works for you. If it works for you, awesome, make that part of your training program. If it's not your vibe, like personally, I hate the cold plunge. I am such a baby when it comes to cold water. I just don't do it. Um, so, could I benefit from doing a cold plunge? Probably, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it consistently. So I
Yeah.
personally, I just don't bother with it.
Mm.
But just making sure that I'm recovering, in the way that means the best for me. Um, One that's often gets overlooked, and this sounds cliche, but protein. If you're not getting enough protein throughout your day, your muscles have nothing to recover with.
Sure.
And so it's a super easy fix. I mean, that is like one of the easiest things you can do is just making sure that you're getting enough protein and water throughout the day.
Yeah.
These are readily available resources. You should probably just actually use.
Yes, of course. But if you could leave, Kenny, if you could leave the listeners with one principle about the training, what would it be? What do you believe that strength training should ultimately give a person beyond just physical result?
Uh, yeah. So I said this before. And I know I keep repeating the same things, but that's just how meaningful they actually are, how basic they
Yeah,
actually are.
yeah,
Um, the training, your workout, it's a lifestyle.
yeah,
Everything that you do, needs to be with a purpose. Um, and oftentimes too, like there's days where, I just don't feel like, working out. Um, but something is better than nothing. So even just doing, a little bit, keeps you from going back. And oftentimes too, like
yeah,
if there's days where I'm just not feeling like working out, uh, I'll just start stretching, right? If I'm just like, my brain is blasted. I had, 40 sessions in the week and I'm just blasted. I still have to get a workout in. I'll just start stretching. I'll start
yeah,
stretching. I'll feel kind of good. Then I'll start doing a little bit of lunges, like just body weight lunges, kind of keep my body moving. That feels really good. Okay. Then I'll grab some dumbbells, start doing some dumbbell lunges. And before I know it, now I'm doing a full work. It's
yeah,
just like a little bit, like just a little bit, overcome your own inertia, right? Where, you're at rest. You don't want to do so. Take one small step. That one small step makes you feel good. Then you start walking yourself into another step and another step and another step. So, if there's, one principle I would say is it's a lifestyle commitment. Commit to doing something, have a purpose. And every little thing starts to add up over time. And the more little things that you do, the more willing you are to do them. And especially when you start seeing the results, it's, intrinsically motivating to keep going along that
yeah,
process.
yeah. But Kenny, this is a little bit more deeper just for to wrap this phenomenal conversation with you up. What legacy do you want your coaching philosophy to leave behind? I mean, when the people are just thinking of you, what they want, to say about.
Man. Yeah. If there's, yeah. So actually, if there's one thing, your body is yours. Your body, your life, those are yours. Those are under your control.
Yeah,
It's your, not only your right, but it's also your duty to take control of them. There's a lot of things in your life that you can't control. There's a lot of external things that happen to you, um, relationships that you have that where people betray you. All these things, play a part in your life and you can't control them necessarily. But what you can
yeah,
control is your mindset about it and your reaction to it. So, um, and oftentimes what I find is, I explain this a lot to my youth clientele as well. Um, the gym is a microcosm of the real world.
yeah,
So you have goals that you set for yourself in the gym and you take those little baby steps towards those goals and you start reaching those goals. Well, who's to say you can't take those same goals and apply them into your everyday life?
yeah,
You want a good job? Okay. We'll work backwards. What would someone with a good job? What what are the ways that they act? How did they get there? Work backwards from that
yeah,
end goal and see how you would get there. Act as if. Um, taking control over your mind, over your body, over your life, taking initiative in the stuff that you, want to achieve.
yeah,
And also, it kind of goes back to, part of my training philosophy, which is, being unbreakable as well. Having an unbreakable mindset, having an unbreakable body, doing the stuff that matters, the little things day to day, build up your confidence, your mental and physical fortitude. Those are all possible. And what I want to have, for my clients is utilizing me as a trainer as a luxury, not a necessity. You don't need me. I'm there to
yeah.
help you along the way. But if I wasn't there when I'm gone, you should carry these same principles forward in your everyday life moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome message, Kenny. And before we wrap this up, unfortunately, we reached the very end of our conversation. Where the people can find you on social media and follow your journey,
Yeah.
where
So,
they can find where you're present.
my Instagram is Kenny, underscore Callanan. The last name is Callanan. That's my main, page for my training. If you just so happen to be in Southern California in the, Orange County area, I train at a
Mhm.
gym called Lifetime in Laguna Niguel. And, those are my main areas that you can find.
Definitely. I'm gonna put the link in the description box under this video, and people just go and check out the Kenny's journey. It's very awesome. I was very mesmerized. And Kenny, to you, thank you for joining me today, for sharing not only your knowledge, but also, the experience that you have shaped the philosophy as a coach, as an athlete. So one of the biggest takeaway from this conversation that I can take from you is here. That the resilience training isn't just something you're born with, it's something you're building. So it's
Mhm.
developed throughout that consistent training, as you said, with the quality movement, with mental discipline, and the willingness to just to keep showing up, especially when the things get difficult.
Yep.
So creating that resilient athlete isn't just about lifting, as you said, heavy weight or performing better on the game day. So it's about building that body that can, adapt, recover, and to continue performing for the years to come. So it's about developing that confidence, as you said, that discipline and the
Mhm.
mindset that refuses to quit, when the
Mhm.
adversity shows up. So thank you, Kenny, on this. And to everyone listening, I can just say, remember that the strongest athletes aren't always the ones who live the most. They're the ones who stay healthy, continue learn, and remain consistent over time, as the Kenny said here today. So
Yep.
if you enjoyed this video and this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a coach, teammate, or a friend who wants to become stronger from the inside out. And make sure to go and follow Kenny and his page and his journey on his platform. I will put the links, as I said, in the description box below. And, stay tuned. And until the next time, keep moving, keep learning, and keep building that body that lasts. So, Kenny, thanks a lot once again.
Thank you, brother. My pleasure.
My pleasure, my friend.